I will never forget being on the phone with my mom one day and she just straight up asked me, "Do you work for only?" Okay, they look kind of crazy when they're not on, but this is them. All I do is have sex and think about having sex all day. Hello. If you're new here, my name is Ian. You may have seen me on Instagram or TikTok. It's been a crazy week, and since Pride Month is over, I am happy to announce that I am fully straight again. I can't even say it with a straight face. Today we are going to be discussing questions that you all have asked about being a spicy creator. And while we do that, I am going to be working on this finger knitted blanket. I already did like the first 2 rows of it because when I start it, it's such a meticulous process that I'm like this. I'm like focused right here and I cannot like talk and do it at the same time. These questions came from an Instagram story I posted a couple months ago asking if anybody had questions about what it's like to be a spicy creator for an adult website. Still haven't figured out if I'm allowed to say the name of that website. I'm just gonna play it safe. If you didn't know, I am a creator on a certain spicy adult content website that I'm sure you know the name of. I have been doing it for about 3.5 years. So that has been a huge part of my income for that period of time. The first question is, how did you start? And it's actually kind of a funny story. So basically at the time I was doing social media with my ex-boyfriend. We were relying on TikTok to pay most of our bills. We had a following of almost 1 million. And then in September of 2021, there was this big ban where all of these gay creators got banned from TikTok at the same time. We appealed, got denied, and all of a sudden we had no way to pay our bills. Somebody close to me in my life actually recommended that I start this page. It came from somebody that I definitely would not have expected to say that. I was like, damn, maybe like it's worth looking into. I actually started, I think in October of 2021 with my ex-boyfriend, and we did it together for a long time. Then in early summer of last year, we broke up, and now I've been doing it alone since then. To be honest, I think it was a little bit easier for me to get into it because I already had a social media following that I had been working on for like over a year. But it is definitely possible to be successful coming from having no social following. That's just not the route that I was on. I need to scoot way closer to this. I'm like reaching to make this fucking blanket right now. The next question is, has anybody ever found out about it? And to be honest, I think I made a TikTok about this actually a couple months ago, but I always tell people if they're interested in starting a spicy page, the #1 rule is that you should always expect people to find out. My parents found out pretty quickly because I forgot that my bank was still tied to theirs, and so when I got paid for the first time, a number that I probably had not been paid before, my dad saw it pretty quick. But yes, even since then, family and friends have found out. I think that with the way that social media works and with the freaky shit that people are into, I just think that most people know somebody who would probably come across it, and then word spreads from there. I've gotten to a point that all of my friends know that I do it and they don't care, and if they do, then I'm not really that close to them anymore. And my family is a little bit of a different story, but actually that's the next question. How did your parents react? I will never forget being on the phone with my mom one day and she just straight up asked me, "Do you work for said explicit site?" At the time, I had called her because I was crying because there was a lot of things going on in my life. I basically just told her that is not what I want to talk about right now, which more or less is a yes. After she heard that, she never brought it up again, and I've already told her that she would not like the content that I make if she were to watch it. I'm pretty sure that she just stays away from it and she likes the relationship that we have outside of it, so she doesn't want to fuck that up by seeing something that I warned her not to look at. My dad, I've never had any conversations with about it, but he stays off of social media and I'm sure he has the same feelings as my mom. I would just definitely prefer to never speak to any of them about that topic ever again. Is it difficult, and do you ever require help like a photographer? I know that a lot of people do, but I actually prefer for my page to be a little bit more personally run, so I actually film and edit all of the content that I put out. I think it just makes it a little bit more personal, and also I don't mind doing it at all. So I have never done any like super fancy shoots with photographers or anything. I don't know if I would do that in the future, but I think I'm happy with where I'm at right now. As far as the work itself, I don't think that it's difficult work, but obviously like all jobs, there are things that I like about it and things that maybe I don't as much. Obviously this job is very mood dependent, so sometimes if I'm not really in the mood to film but I know that I should get something out, I usually won't film because I still want it to feel very authentic, and I don't ever want to get to a point that I'm forcing myself to make content because I think that's how you burn out on it. The next question is actually really interesting. Somebody asked me, does this type of content boost your body confidence and your body image? I think on a shallow level, absolutely. It's really fun to think about the fact that some people would want to see you in that way. So to some extent, it definitely does. However, I will say on months that I'm not making as much or when I'm struggling to get by a little bit, I do definitely end up comparing myself with other explicit creators. Obviously, anytime you compare your body with somebody else's, it's not going to be good. And so I have fallen down that rabbit hole a few times. In general, I would say I'm pretty confident with my body, but I will say it's really easy to get sucked into that mindset and think, well, it makes sense that they're making more money than me because they're more attractive, or that they have more fans or more followers than I do because they're way hotter than me. So that definitely has gone through my mind a lot too. And I do kind of pride myself on having multiple facets of myself online. And so there's definitely this dark, more explicit adult content side, but there's also the political activism, Instagram, TikTok side that I think other adult creators maybe don't have. I think that for me, it just makes it feel a little bit more personal and a little bit more intimate. It helps me feel like I'm making a difference while also doing something that I enjoy and pays the bills. And maybe one day I will transition to fully adult content, or maybe one day I will transition to fully political content. I have no idea what the future holds, but I am really honored to be on this journey and to have gotten as far as I have. And I think I'm okay with making a little bit less money sometimes if that means I'm making a deeper connection with my audience and really feel like I'm bringing something to the table. This is not part of any question that has been asked, but I definitely have been scolded by people in the past who tell me that I could be making a lot more money if I only created content that was centered around my body and my looks. And I have no issue with people who do that. Obviously, we are all in the same field, but I really do feel like I have multiple passions and things to share with the world. And more than anything, I really want to make sure that my online presence is representative of me as a person. And I do think that I can be dark and mysterious and sexy, but I can also be a voice for my community. My goal in having a presence online has always been to be as authentic as possible, and I just want to make sure that I don't lose my actual personality in the process of trying to promote my explicit content. Have I ever been recognized in public because of it, and was it awkward? I've definitely been recognized in public a decent amount of times. Nobody has ever specifically said that they know me from that platform, and I'm very grateful for that. Obviously, it's not something that I'm ashamed of, but it's also not something that I would necessarily want to talk about in public with a stranger. I'm sure that some people that have recognized me have subscribed to that platform, and I'm eternally grateful for that, but I'm also eternally grateful that they chose not to bring that up face to face. I love getting to know people, and when they say hi to me, it really does make my day, but I do think it would be like maybe a tad bit awkward if they were to say something about that content and I was with like my family or friends. Somebody asked what underwear brands they should be aware of. I have two favorites. Actually, I have one favorite and one that I just ordered from like last week. My first favorite is Awry, A-W-R-Y. They have some briefs and some boxer briefs and some trunks. They're a little bit slutty, but I also think that they're a little bit tasteful and I like them a lot. The second place that I actually just ordered from last week, but will definitely be ordering from again, is called Coyote. I just got a pair of underwear from them that I am actually obsessed with and will likely be making an appearance on that platform if any of you are interested. Actually, I will show you. I think they're right here. Okay, they look kind of crazy when they're not on, but this is them. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Somebody else asked if this has affected my ability to get jobs outside of spicy content. To be honest, I don't think that it really has in person. I think I mentioned in one of my other videos that I'm also a pickleball instructor at a sports club, which is actually really exciting. I love it a lot. But I do think it definitely has affected my ability to get brand deals, like on Instagram and TikTok. I think, unfortunately, we're still at a place where a lot of brands don't really want to work with a creator who is on one of those sites. Even though I've seen a little bit of a push toward inclusivity and being more open to people who are on those platforms, I do think that it's still definitely an issue, which is kind of funny to me because I think if I create adult content online, that really doesn't mean anything about my audience or demographic not being interested in participating in brand deals I promote. That's a conversation for another day. Somebody else asked how I stay fit. I wish I had a better answer for you. I really just play a lot of pickleball, and I think that I'm a little bit blessed genetically. I definitely don't have my dream body or anything, but I definitely am pretty confident in it overall. I think a big part of that though is just my personality. I really just don't give a fuck what people say, and I think you kind of have to be like that to be on social media. As I've shared in the past, there's been a lot of hate that has come my way, and I feel like it just doesn't really affect me on a deep level like that, and I'm also very grateful to be wired that way because of that. Being an adult creator on this platform is such an interesting job to have because it really is so self-led that I was doing it for like over 2 years before I ever said a word to another soul about it on the business side, as far as deals, as far as strategy, as far as like making money. It's just such an unconventional position to be in. And there's parts of it that I'm really grateful for, and there's also parts of it that feel very isolating at times. But overall, I really do have a good time doing it, and I've been able to support myself doing it for a few years now, so that's really exciting. I'm always trying to come up with new fun ways to keep it fresh and exciting and unique. There's really not a ton that's like off the table. If you have any suggestions, I would actually love to hear those as well. Someone asked what the biggest misconception about being an adult creator is, and I think this may not be true for everybody, but it at least is for me. I think people frequently see adult creators as these sexy freaks that are just horny 24/7. Obviously that fantasy is a thing for a reason. It sells really well, but I think that that's kind of the way that my approach to this platform is a little bit different than other people's, is that I don't really focus as much on selling myself as I do creating genuine connections with people and putting out content that I'm proud of. And I do think as a consumer of the content, you can really tell when somebody enjoys what they're doing versus when it's a little bit of an act, or maybe not even an act, but maybe upplayed a little bit. And some people really do enjoy that fantasy of having somebody who is just a sex machine, but that's not me. And like I said, I want to focus on authenticity and being genuine online, and I would be lying if I said that all I do is have sex and think about having sex all day. Even though it's a little bit less of a fantasy and probably makes me a little bit less money, I am okay with that because I want to stay true to myself. And like I said, some people might be like that in real life, and that is totally fine. This is definitely the right industry to get into if that's the case. That's just not me, and that's okay. It definitely takes a strong backbone and a lot of confidence to do this job. Most of it is completely alone, and people will share their opinions about you, good or bad, but that's just something you get used to, and I am endlessly grateful for all of the support that I've found in the last few years. Building my online community has been one of my favorite things in the whole entire world, and I cannot wait for it to keep growing. I didn't get to everybody's questions today, but I do feel like this video is getting kind of long, so I think I'm gonna stop here. If you have more questions or if you want me to do a part 2 of this, please let me know. I would love to talk about it more. It's actually one of my favorite things to talk about because I feel like it's a very misunderstood part of my job, and I just love destigmatizing sex work. I think it's really important. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that. You know where to find me on the socials. All of my links will be below, and I mean all of them. Ew. I did not like that at all. I think I'm gonna cut that out. This is how far I got on the blanket while I talked about these questions, and thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you and I love you so much. Thank you and good night.